Hey guys, it's Kayla. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've watched some of my videos before. Today we're here for the August wrap-up. I read quite a few very good books this month, and let's go ahead and start talking about them. The first book that I finished this month was The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This was the Shelf Space Book Club pick for August, and I enjoyed this book. This book is about the city of New York, and some sort of evil entity has come to it, and the city has selected avatars that are connected to the specific boroughs to defend it. And in concept, this book is really good. Like, very unique. I was super intrigued by it, and I did like this book. But I think the majority of the reason why I like this book is that Robin Miles is my absolute favorite audio narrator, and she kills it. She does so many voices, so many things. Like it's so atmospheric in the way that she tells the story, as well as some of like the sounds and additions and stuff that the book has. And that aspect of it is so immersive, and I just really loved that. But the actual story in the beginning I thought was really good, and probably right around the 50% mark, I started to slow down. I was losing a little bit of interest, and I do think it fell off quite a bit at the end. The ending was super anticlimactic. And I understand that there's like a sequel coming, but I do feel like there should have been more of a cinematic feel to the end of this book, because it felt like you were leading up to something that just didn't occur. And the other thing I have issue with this book is, while the social commentary in this is so realistic and on par for things that are happening in our country right now, I felt like it was a little bit too on the nose, and because of it, the plot was sort of left by the wayside. There was just so much focus on that, and I feel like Jemisin is able to weave social commentary in with fantasy super well in the 5th season. And so because this one just felt a little more heavy-handed, and maybe because it was set in New York instead of in a fantasy world, maybe that is partly to do with it. But that aspect of the book I did find fell a little bit short, but I still enjoyed the writing style. I thought there was some great comedy, some really great interactions between the boroughs, and even though I'm not from New York, I still felt really connected to this city, and I think she did a wonderful job as far as the setting and stuff went. So moving on. The next book that I read was The Well of Ascension, which is the second book in the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. This was my 3rd time reading this book, and I love it, okay? I just love it. I do think that the Mistborn trilogy technically is not as well written as his later books, specifically Stormlight. I mean, geez Louise, that book is so good. But Mistborn is really wonderful. But you can definitely tell the writing in it is much younger Sanderson. I don't know, maybe if you've read this book series, do you know what I'm talking about? Like, I think the characters just aren't quite as strong as they are in Stormlight, and maybe it's because there's not more though. I don't know. I don't know why I feel that way. I still love the characters. I just don't feel like they're as strong as his later books. That being said, the Mistborn trilogy will always hold this like cozy little spot in my heart, because it's my gateway into adult fantasy, sort of. Not completely true. It's my gateway into Sanderson, essentially, and since he is my favorite author, I will always love Mistborn. So the next book I read was Misery by Stephen King, and oh my gosh, this is my favorite King book. Granted, I've only read The Shining and Misery right now up until this point, and I did really love The Shining. I did. But Misery, if you don't know the plot of Misery, like I didn't when I picked this book up, basically Paul Sheldon is this New York Times bestselling author for a series of books called Misery. Misery is the main character, and he gets into a car accident and is saved by his #1 fan, Annie Wilkes. Annie Wilkes basically holds him hostage in his bed because his legs are injured, and it's just this really psychological, crazy experience. And this book is so good for so many reasons. The character work is like nothing else, I swear. Annie Wilkes, while being the villain, is also a character that you empathize with, that is funny and likable, and it's so good. and Paul Sheldon, who is not like a super likable character, you don't want to be trapped there. But like, you also don't really like Paul that much, or at least I didn't like Paul that much. And I watched the movie with my friends the other night, and they were basically like, Kayla, in an alternate universe where you are a complete psychopath, this is you. And I was like, that hurts because it's potentially true. I don't know. It was just like the level of obsession that Annie has with the Misery books and with Paul Sheldon himself. And as a reader, you can understand, like, her obsession to a point, obviously. Please don't capture people and torture them. Just disclaimer, I'm not condoning Annie's actions. I'm saying, understand, if someone were to kill off my favorite character, I would be upset too. Okay. This is a touchy subject. I don't know what else to say. This is just where we're going with this. You're not only in this room with Paul and Annie, you also get glimpses into the novel that Paul is being forced to write, which is the Misery novels that Annie loves. She's making him write another Misery novel. And so you're reading about Annie and Paul, but you're also reading the book that Paul is writing within the book itself. And I thought that was so cool. Like, there's just so many good things about this book. I can't speak highly enough about it. I really loved it. I definitely highly recommend picking this up, especially if you aren't into like, especially if you're into like the psychological aspect of a thriller, because this one just, it plays with your mind, okay? I definitely screamed oh shit a lot of times. Oh, another thing about this book is, randomly, I just picked this book because I was trying to pick Stephen King books that were popular, that I could watch movies for, you know? And Misery mentions Sidewinder and The Overlook Hotel, which are both from The Shining. So I thought that was really cool and random that I picked up a book that mentioned the previous only other King book that I'd read. So, alright. Then I read The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is the first book in a trilogy. I actually have an entire dedicated review to this video. If you want to check it out, I'll link it up here somewhere. And it's spoiler free, so you can definitely go over there. So I'm not going to go into super detail on this one. The Poppy War is a Chinese inspired fantasy novel. It is military fantasy, and it pulls from a lot of historical Chinese events. So there are a number of really graphic scenes, and just know that if you do pick up this book, that there are a number of trigger warnings. Basically any trigger warning you can think of has been attached to this book, and go into it knowing that. But I do think it is a worthwhile read. It has a lot of mixed reviews, and I understand why, but I found that it was easy to read. It's very direct writing, and I liked the school aspect of it in the beginning. Basically the main character goes to a military academy and has to train, and you know, all that stuff. And it's a very typical school setting, I found. I didn't think it was anything mind-blowing, but I still enjoyed it. And then it goes from that into this really dark place where military school transitions into the real military and real war, and the difference in what Rin, the main character, is training at and playing at versus what it is like in reality. And it really plays upon that quite a bit in the beginning, and the second book is actually much darker, and that is the next book that I read. Actually, I went straight from the Poppy War into the Dragon Republic. In the Dragon Republic, you can definitely see that R.F. Kuang spent quite a bit of time taking writing classes, and I think the writing in the Dragon Republic is considerably better than the writing in the Poppy War. The Poppy War's chapters are extremely long, and they don't really have a very specific like beginning, middle, end. They just kind of, it's just like this is a large chain of events that happens, and then like a chapter will end at a weird place and then just pick back up. It's almost like the book just reads, I don't know. And I didn't feel like the Poppy War had that pacing, whereas I do feel like the Dragon Republic was paced quite a bit better. There's still some like weird things going on as far as like characters go. Rin is not a likable character, I don't think. I did not connect with her in the first book, and I don't really like her, but I like what's going on in the book itself, and so I really enjoyed both of these books. I think Dragon Republic is stronger, and I'm curious to see what happens with Rin as she goes into the third book in November, The Burning God. And so if you like morally great characters, if you like a really dark and gritty world, and if you like to see bits of historical fiction in your fantasy, I do think this book is worth picking up, and I am definitely excited to pick up the third book in the series. I ended up getting an e-arc of Teen Titans Beast Boy by Kami Garcia, and I don't know a lot about comics. I've just recently started reading graphic novels, and so for me, this is a really great starting point into the DC comic area. This is more like YA, but I feel like it would be fine for middle grade as well. And I thought this was a really fun story. I thought the art was really cute, and that the friendships between the characters, between Beast Boy and his two friends from school, was really like heartwarming, and I loved how they stuck up for each other. And I think that even though I didn't give this one 5 stars, I think I gave it 4, maybe 3.5 stars. I can't remember. It doesn't really matter. I'm telling you, I enjoyed this book. The star rating is just irrelevant at this point. And I think this is a great entry point into graphic novels, and I feel like if you have middle school, high school age kids that are interested in reading, I think this would be a great place to start for them. I've also just ordered the Raven version of this book by Kami Garcia as well, because I want to read them all. I really like them. They're not anything mind-blowing, groundbreaking, but they're a fun read. Okay, so I also read Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This book is about a boy named Fitz, who is the bastard of one of the princes of the realm, and he has no memory of what his life was like before being 5. I don't know why yet. And he basically just gets tossed around and has no family and no friends and nobody to love, and it's just a sad book, man. Trigger warnings for animal death. Robin Hobb is just, she doesn't care. She's just like, I will hurt you and your whole family, and does your heart hurt? Because it's about to. Like, she just doesn't stop hurting you. Like, if you want to get hurt, pick up Robin Hobb. I'm the kind of psycho crazy person that likes to be hurt. Like, Robin speaks to me. I'm like, wreck me, okay? Just wreck me. That's the kind of reader I am. I want to cry. I want to feel the things. And Robin Hobb makes you feel the things, okay? Her writing style, so beautiful. Classic fantasy, but not in a way that isn't, it is still easy to read. This book is super character focused. There's not a whole lot of action in it, and it's a lot about the politics of the realm and Fitz becoming an assassin and trying to find his place in a world where he's really not wanted. You're so attached to Fitz and just wanting things to work out for him, and he just struggles. He's a really great character to follow around. I loved him. I'm continuing on with this with Michael Nip's Patreon in September, and I'm really looking forward to what happens because I really loved reading it. I also read The Great Hunt, which is the second book in the Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. I have a dedicated spoiler-filled video for this right here if you are curious to check that out as well. This is my first time reading The Wheel of Time, and I wasn't super, like, I liked The Eye of the World, the first book. I really feel like this book has changed my perspective on where this book is going. It's much different. It really opens up the world. You get a lot more into the politics of the Aes Sedai, which are the women magic wielders, and like the different politics and what's going on, basically. There's a lot more action. It's a lot more unique, whereas the first book is very heavily influenced, almost to the point of like plot for plot. It follows the first book in The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and which I read was an intentional choice by Robert Jordan. I still like it, but I do feel like The Great Hunt definitely changed my mind about how I was going to feel about this series, and I'm really curious to see what is going to happen in The Dragon Reborn. I have picked it up already. I'm slowly making my way through it because I'll post it probably after this, but I'm going to have a life update because if you can see, my books are gone. My life's gone to shambles once again, and so I have been reading a little bit lighter material as I try to organize things. But so yeah, I really like it. I'm definitely continuing the series. I'm for sure eventually going to finish it, maybe in 2021. Who knows? So And then I finally read a short story by Leigh Bardugo called The Witch of Duba. This is such a fun story. It's got like some really great creepy elements to it. And what I liked about it is I've read Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo as well, and you can tell that she wanted to be creepy, okay? Like, there's some really great creepy elements to it, and I really liked it. It subverted some tropes. It's almost like a Hansel and Gretel situation. Like, I really loved it. A library had it. I want to say it was like 50 pages maybe. I don't know. It might not even been that many, but I highly recommend it if you're a Leigh Bardugo fan. Like, I don't even think you have to have read any of her books to read this short story. I don't remember it being... There wasn't really any magic. I mean, there was like a Witch of Duba. But other than that, I don't think there was really any tie-ins that like you would need to know in order to understand this short story. Basically, there's just like... I'm not going to really give you any details on it because going into it blind, I think, is your best bet. And just see what happens. And that's it. Because, I mean, it's not very long. It's not like it's a whole lot of commitment, and I think it's a fun, kind of spooky read. I really love Leigh Bardugo's prose, and if you're a Leigh Bardugo fan, for sure, definitely pick it up. So that's that, you guys. That's all the books that I read in the month of August. Sorry for the late wrap-up. My life has been crazy, like I said, and keep a lookout for the video updating you on what the heck's been going on with me. So like, comment, and subscribe if you would be so kind. Hit the notification bell if you would like to see more content from me, and stay tuned, because there will be more to come.